Here. Okay. Right. Now you can see. Okay. Welcome everyone to Turner, Maine. It's cold here. Okay. So Passover desserts. Here we go. For those of you who joined us last year, you'll remember my maybe lovely little trio of small eats, simple things that happen quickly and come together nice and quick and don't make a big mess and all that. We're not doing that this year. This year, we're going to get more involved, though it's only a 2-component recipe, really. It's a little bit more involved, like I said. So Pavlova, what is it? It 2 main components. 1, a meringue shell. 2, whipped cream. That's the basics of it. Born in Australia, or maybe New Zealand. I don't know. They do fight about it, apparently, who invented it. But in the early 20th century, dancer Anna Pavlova came and gave a performance and everybody loved it so much. I assume that Pavlova is named after her because it's light and airy, just like a dancer on stage. Or maybe she's on some special diet where all she can eat is super light food, so she stays light and can dance. I don't know. That part is unsure. It's named after her.
We can't hear you.
Wait, they can't hear us now.
Well, now.
That's better.
Okay.
Try again. It starts off with not, and then it comes in, like fades in.
Yes, it fades in.
Nah, we can't hear that. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, James, you're coming in clear, loud and clear.
Okay, pause. Baking's my specialty, not earbuds. Sorry, guys. How about now? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, great. Back in action. My cameraman is now earless, so if I have to direct him, I will. Okay, so yes, dessert, special occasions, perfect for a Passover as it is, but it is naturally kosher for Passover. So no special recipe adaptations needed. There's no leavening, no flour. We're good to go. So that's not necessarily unique, but so why not? We'll take a couple days to really, I recommend. You could do it in one day. It's not impossible. Choose better. Give yourself a little more time. We are dressing up this Pavlova. It's not just a shell and whipped cream. We're going to add a little extra zhuzh in there with some chocolate and some sherry, and just make it a little extra special. And if you hear the cat in the background, sorry, not sorry. He's part of our life here. Okay, so we're going to start with meringue, which, as most of you may know, egg whites, and sugar. So tricks to meringue, very clean bowl, very, very, very clean bowl. Hot soapy water, dry it nice and good. Give it a wipe down with some vinegar, including the whisk as well, before you use it, especially if you've had trouble with meringue in the past. Just egg whites really don't like fat or any dirt or anything like that. So go overboard on the sanitation. Think COVID ready bowl. Okay. So we're using 3 egg whites. I'm going to dump those in here. Hopefully we did a test run on the mixer and it's not too loud. If it is, just let me know and I'll just walk away real quick. But We're going to get these going on like a pretty high speed. And then once it starts to get bubbly and fluffy, we'll start adding our sugar very slowly so that it doesn't fluff out of the bowl. And we'll go from there. This takes a good amount of time. We're looking for stiff peaks here. So I'll show you as we progress, but bear with me as we. Everybody still hear me okay? Okay, thumbs up from the audience. Great.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. So, another note about making meringue. Let your egg whites come to room temperature. Cold egg whites do not whisk as well as room temperature egg whites. So for this recipe, oh right, that was another reason why I wanted to add a little extra element to this recipe, because when I give recipes that use 3 egg whites, now I've left you with 3 egg yolks. What do you do with them? And unless you really like extra decadent omelets, I feel an obligation to give some advice on what to do with those. So we're going to use those things, the 3 egg yolks, in the custard that we're going to use inside the pavlova. So go ahead, separate them first thing, let them sit out. It doesn't really take that long for all of this to come to room temperature. So a couple hours, the day before, the night before, whatever. They're not going to go bad sitting on your counter for a day, I promise. And, you know, price of eggs these days, want to make sure you use them all. And that's why we're doing this. So coming back to the mixer here, you can see they're turning white and bubbly. So now we're just going to start sprinkling in sugar. You can put it down a little bit when you do this part. And you're just going to add it a little bit at a time. So,
What if your cat likes egg whites?
What if your cat likes egg whites? Lost them out of the kitchen.
You can give the egg yolks to your dogs. It's good for their coat.
Oh, there you go. That's a good recommendation. I think you can put egg yolks in your hair too, but I don't do that. I save them for baking. Okay. So just keep slowly adding your sugar. And once it's all in,
How
we'll
much
stop
sugar
and give it a
is
good
being added?
breakdown.
How much sugar is being added?
That is 3/4 cup of sugar. And I dropped the ball. I didn't provide the recipe beforehand. But I will provide the recipe afterwards, and I'll make sure it's available for you guys. But yes, so 3 egg whites, 3/4 cup of sugar. Seems like a lot, but that's what it takes to make sure that everything is nice and gets to that nice stiff point that will last the baking process we do next. So we've scraped down, especially where that loose sugar was along the bowl edge there. And we're going to turn it back on high speed until it's stiff peaks. So right now you can see that it's kind of runny and goopy and drippy. Not what we're looking for. We want to go full 60, which will stand up on their own.
It's amazing that Zoom can take away the noise.
Yeah, it sure is. Because this mixer is about, I don't know, 125 decibels. So it's just gonna mix and mix, and it takes a good couple of minutes to get it where you want it to be, mostly because it's taking all of that granulated sugar and melting it, essentially whipping it, forcing it into those egg whites to help stiffen everything. So you want to make sure there's no grainy texture, and you'll start to notice as the egg white will whip itself into little strands along the outside of the bowl. And it will be nice and shiny. I mean, it looks pretty shiny right now, but we'll let it go a bit more to get nice and voluminous. So we'll stop it again just so I can show you guys where we are. So when I pull this out, you can kind of see that this just droops over, kind of like a melting ice cream cone. Not what we're going for, not there yet. So we'll give it one more scrape. I'm just going to use the whip here. Get all those loose sugar strands off the side. Hook it up, and yeah, you can do this by hand. In fact, I kind of dare you to do it by hand. Let's see if you have what it takes. You busy yet? Sorry, it's a light show over here. Back. So while that's whipping, I will get ready my heat pan. This is just a half heat pan. Any flat baking surface will do. You can use a pie plate if what you've got, but you will need either a piece of parchment or a silicone baking mat so that you can lift the pavlova off later. Hot tip, take some of this gooey egg white and just rub it down on your tray here. And that's literally just acting as a glue to keep your parchment paper down. If you're using a silicone mat, you don't need that because it's going to stay in place. But that way, when you're maneuvering, which we'll see in just a moment, it won't want to lift up on you all the time. It'll kind of hold the paper down to the tray. Always nice. And I've got the oven preheated to 225 degrees, very low. We want a low still oven. We're not really baking the meringue so much as we are drying it. So nice low oven, and it'll go in for about an hour and 45 minutes. You're blinding me. Okay. Light and Sound by James Dragalis, everybody. Let's hear a round of applause for him. Okay, so let's take another look here as we've got still a little bit of a sad cone situation, but not as floppy. And when you shake it, it sticks up. So that's good. We are almost there. And you can kind of see it's nice and glossy, shiny, pretty, beautiful. Great. So we'll give it one more scrape and then we're going to be good to go with this. And by scrape, it's kind of a swirl. We're almost there, I promise. So in just another minute, this will be good. We are going to add just 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. If you're not doing cornstarch, potato starch also works. So just a teaspoon of potato starch instead of corn. And we're just going to tip that right over the top. Gently mix it in to make sure we don't deflate all this wonderful air we just painstakingly incorporated. And then we'll make it into our lovely pavlova shape. Okay. All right, this is looking good. I'm going to take the whole thing off so you can see. Whoops, whoa, tail there. So little tail standing up, nice. You know, the top is always going to do that. But the best part, this barely moves. Hello, nothing's coming out. This is exactly what you want. Stands up in there, beautiful. That's what we're going for. Okay. Pain in the butt to get all of the meringue out, but it's worth it. Just give it a bang on the side of the bowl. You have to get most of it out. A little bit left, but that's okay. They make all sorts of fancy contraptions that'll fit inside these and scrape them down for you, but they don't really work. So don't waste your money. Okay, so cornstarch. Just gonna sift out any lumps right over the top. Press any lumps through. Give it a little shake. Fix. And then just gently fold. Just barely kind of maneuvering it around. And this will help to stabilize it a little bit and give us the nice texture we're looking for, which is a crispy shell with a nice soft marshmallowy kind of inside. So we're just going to give it a couple light stirs to evenly incorporate that cornstarch. Okay. That looks good. All right, beautiful. It's so fun. So this is not the same type of meringue that you would top like a lemon meringue pie with. That's a softer meringue that stays spongy like on the inside. This is going to get nice and crisp on the outside. And again, have like a chewy marshmallowy texture on the inside. From here, what I did is make some small ones. This is the kind of shape we're going for. You need a cavity in the middle so that you can fill them later. You can do them small. You can do them in one giant one. I figured I would show you guys how to get this size and then try to make a big one. It probably won't be done by the time we're done, but I can at least kind of show you what a big one would look like. For this part, you will need a pastry bag or a plastic bag with the corner cut off, whatever, something to funnel the meringue onto your board here. So just scoop out a little bit here. And I've got a pretty sizable hole cut. This size batch, 3 egg whites, will make 6 to 8 small ones. And then, or one big one. So I'll show you how to get the small ones and then I'll form it all back into a big one. I don't recommend doing that on the regular because the more you manipulate the meringue, the more it starts to deflate. So nice about, fingertip sized hole in the top. And what you'd want to do is just hold it, a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch from your pan here. Start in the middle and just trace around the outside until you get, 3 inches across or so. And then, again, this is for the small ones, pipe a second layer right on the outside rim and then go again. So 3 layers high. From this point, you can use a spatula and smooth out the outside. You can use a star tip in here and make it kind of pretty on the outside. All sorts of options. The whole idea, though, is to create a cavity. And then once you've got them all made, you can kind of bolster the bottom a little bit, fill it 1/3 of the way up.
Diana, if you don't have one of those squeezy thingies, can you do it without it, or you have to have one of those? That green thingy.
You don't. This green thingy, yes, this is my favorite kind of pastry bag. They're super industrial. Totally unnecessary. You can use just like a plastic Ziploc bag and cut the corner off. That also works. If you don't have that, you can definitely use a spoon and just kind of spoon a big old piece on there, which actually I'll show you how to do that with the big one. We'll do it that way. And then just form the sides up and smooth the bottom down a little bit. So we'll go ahead and do that. So pretend I didn't have this. We'll just squeeze it all out, because that's what you would do. Look at all that meringue. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay, so we'll use my handy dandy spatula here. So you've got all your meringue out. This is looking great. When you look up Pavlovas on the internet, you see all the different shapes and sizes, some that are definitely done more freeform, some that are nicely piped. But whatever fits your fancy, whatever tools you have is great. So just kind of start, make it a little bit smaller than it's going to end up. And you don't need as high of a side on the large one because you've got a big cavity to fill. So it doesn't have to have, the basically 2-inch side that the small ones do. But if you just kind of swirl it out from the middle and lift it up as you get to the edge, not only will you get a nice edge on it, But then you'll also have that beautiful like wave kind of happening. I'm actually kind of liking that. And then just keep moving it out, create that edge. Okay. Just so you can really, I'll try to do one in reverse so you can see from this side. I'm just kind of pressing down, moving out, and then lifting up on. So that's how you create a nice, and again, you can do this in a small version as well. And with the fillings and everything, you know, there's 100 different fillings you can make. Any of your favorite fillings will go great inside of here. And if you're going to do an individual ones, you could have like a little bar where you set it up and everybody picks their filling and fills their shell. Or, you know, you make a nice big one and you cut it and make a big old mess because Pavlovas are messy. But I'm actually really liking how this wave thing is. It's really cool. So, a great question. That was Linda, right? You
It
take that,
was.
All right. So this looks good. I'm not going to mess with it too much. Again, the more you manipulate it, the bigger risk you run of deflating it. So we've got a good enough edge here. And all of this is going to puff up as it bakes. Not a whole lot, not like a loaf of bread, but it'll expand and puff. And we've got a lower center, a higher edge. That is going to be great. And then you just have a spoon to lick, which is also nice. So into the oven it goes for 1 hour, 15 minutes, 225. And then you turn it off and leave it for another half hour. So total bake time, hour and 45 minutes. That is a fine question. I don't know if James' question came through, but it is not the same for the big one and the small one. And thinking the big one will take that time. Those small ones that I made earlier took about an hour at 225 and then 15 minutes with the oven off. So set the timer before I forget. Oh, this is, you don't have to watch. 1 hour and 15 minutes. Tricky part about meringue, you don't really want to touch the oven too much. Every time you let it in, you run the risk of it not getting as inflated as you'd like, letting in some humidity, which is not great for that. So keep it shut, use your oven light, keep the door shut. If you notice it's starting to get brown, check your oven temperature. You might need a thermometer in there. And at that point, you can take a little look. It shouldn't be brown. They should stay, you know, they get like a little bit of a peachy hue on the outside, but they should stay pretty white. So there they go. When it's done, when you do eventually take it out, move it to a cooling rack until it's basically cool enough for you to hold. It should peel away easily from the paper. If you're using a Silpat, you might have to use a silicone baking mat, a spatula, like a flat spatula or something to get it off. Or flip it over, peel it back, but whatever. Use parchment paper, it's easier. And it will lift very easily from it. If you try to lift it and it sticks, let it dry some more. Just throw it back in the oven, couple, 20 minutes or so at a time, and let it dry out some more, and that should be fine. With all that said, if it's a rainy day, it might need to bake a little longer. Meringue is a little bit temperamental, so, but you guys can do it. You can totally do it. All right, so let's get rid of this. While that bakes, we will go ahead and get started on the chocolate filling, which is based on a sabayon, which is used a lot of ways, one of which is more of a sauce. But what we're going to do, we're going to make it. I'll show you the saucy version. Then you chill it, and it becomes kind of like a custard. And then we'll fold, like I said, the traditional whipped cream into it, fill our beautiful meringues, top it with some delicious strawberries, and boom, have a wonderful dessert. So what I've got going on right here is a very hot bowl. We have a pan of simmering water. Now you will need it to stay simmering while we do this. I like a big sturdy double-sided one. There's about an inch of water in there. I brought it to a boil, turned it down to a simmer, get my big bowl on top. We're only using 3 egg yolks. There's only a third of a cup and a half a cup of other ingredients. It's not a lot, but you want room to work because we're going to be whisking pretty good in here. So very simple, just a couple ingredients. What I have here, I said it's a chocolate custard. It's kind of more of a wine custard. It's chocolate and wine, which is great. This is sherry. You can use other wines. Sherry is traditional, nice, dry, sweet, delicious. So 1/3 of a cup of sherry. Right. This is a 1/4 cup of sugar into the bowl and just a splash of vanilla extract. It's about a 1/2 teaspoon, technical term for splash. And we're just gonna make sure that this stays boiling. We're gonna whisk this together until the sugar dissolves.
Can
Doesn't
you
take
use
long.
something non-alcoholic?
That is a fine question. I would say I'd have to think about that. Non-alcoholic. You could probably use some sort of juice. I'd have to think about what would make sense flavor-wise. Well, right. So I'm not sure, depending on the reason you're not using alcohol, a lot of the alcohol will evaporate from in here. We're cooking this whole mixture to 140 degrees. So if that's the concern, then, you know, can't technically say how much alcohol would be left in it, but it wouldn't be a lot if you're just avoiding alcohol for any other reason. That's a really good question. Stumper. I'm gonna have to look on that and see if there's any other sort of liquid that would be appropriate. I would stay away from citrus off the bat. That will curdle your yolks pretty good. But if that's the case, I mean, this is just one kind of chocolate custard. You could make a traditional chocolate pudding and then use that in place of this more decadent sherry-based custard. Maybe not substituting the wine, but substituting the pudding.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Sure. All right, so this is nicely melted. Everything here is combined. It's just a clear liquid now. So to this, we will add our 3 egg yolks. Want to get them in there quickly and start whipping before they start to cook. And now we whip and whip and whip and whip. You get the idea.
So if you don't do that, aren't the eggs gonna like be scrambled?
Yes. If you stop moving this and walk away, your eggs will be scrambled in the bottom of a bowl of wine, and that is gross.
That's exactly what I would do.
No, this one you're not allowed to leave. You got to keep it moving. And as you can see already, it's getting nice and fluffy. So what we're doing here is just gently cooking the yolks. We don't want them scrambled or fried or boiled or anything like that. We're just gently cooking them while maneuvering them so we can incorporate lots of air. And once we do this for a couple of minutes, you'll start to see it change and thicken as the sugar starts to cook yolks. So not only are we heating it, because again, this will come to about 140 degrees. So everything will be thoroughly cooked, but the sugar will also do it. This is why I like a nice big bowl. You wouldn't think 3 egg yolks would need a big old bowl, but this is why. You can see that nice velvety texture coming in with all those little bubbles. And I'll show you what we're going for here. This doesn't take too long, nor too vigorous. You don't have to go nuts here. Just keep it moving. A good wire whisk will help. A silicone whisk is less good for incorporating this kind of air. I don't know what it is about them. It's just not as good. So you can already start to see it coming together. We do what this is called a ribbon test, where you take a little bit and drizzle it over the top, and you see how long it takes that stream to kind of flow back into the custard here. So not only, I mean, you got a pretty liquid stream there, we're going to go a little bit farther, get it nice and thick. Every once in a while, I just go around the rim here where the bowl meets the pot to make sure nothing's getting too sticky there. And just keep your bowl at a simmer. If it starts to go crazy and boil, just give it a little lift, turn it down. And once you get this nice pale color here, you don't have to worry too much about scrambling the eggs if been incorporated enough. If you needed to, I don't know, blow your nose or something, you'd be fine. But don't answer the door for the talkative neighbor. You won't be fine. Okay, we're whipping and whipping. So again, that was 3 yolks, 1/3 of a cup of wine, a 1/2 cup of sugar, I'm sorry, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and just a splash of vanilla. And the only remaining ingredient is 1 ounce of chocolate. Doesn't seem like enough, but it's just enough. And I recommend dark chocolate, mostly because it's my favorite and it's delicious, but also because this is a relatively sweet mixture here with the sweet wine and the added sugar. So adding like a milk chocolate just makes it a little too sweet for my. If you used a drier wine, you could probably get away with a milk chocolate, but everybody knows dark chocolate and wine go good.
Is there a certain type of chocolate that you prefer?
I do have my favorites. My favorite readily available grocery store type brand is Ghirardelli. They just make a delicious quality product. But by all means, use whatever you got, as long as it's dark. In this application where it's not super chocolate forward, you're just looking for those cocoa notes, and Nestle Toll House will be fine. But yeah, personal favorite, Ghirardelli. Lindt also. Nice. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. You can see we get to see that circle I'm drawing here for a good 10 seconds, if not more, before it starts to melt back into the custard. So this is looking great. I'm going to turn off the stove. I am going to set this next door here. Move that out of the way. And chopped chocolate. Here we go. Want to make sure it's chopped pretty good, unless you have like mini chocolate chips or something like that, because you want it to melt into this mixture pretty quickly. So just dump it right in. Just kind of cover it up a little bit. That way everybody's cozy and can melt down real quick. We'll give it just a little minute before we whip it again. So, it's good to expend all this energy and build your muscles and then eat a whole bunch of dessert afterwards. So, just looking out on all fronts here.
Can you whip it left-handed?
Sure. In fact, yes, I definitely can. Not as neatly, maybe, but I can do it.
This seems like a long time to be working that with one arm.
Yeah, switch it up. That's fine. Whatever makes it work for you. And sure, you can use a hand mixer too. You could also use a stand mixer. It's just a little awkward sometimes when you're moving from a hot thing to put it on the mixer. For me, it's easier to just do it by hand. But by all means, if you have one of those little electric hand mixers, that'll do just fine. Okay. So we're getting there. It's about 3/4 melted. So that's good enough for me. The bottom of the bowl is still really warm. Another reason I like working with glass bowls for things like this, you can see through the bottom. So we can see just kind of how melted it is. So here we go. Left-handed. Whip it. I don't know if someone's trying to ask questions or not, but I can't hear you.
Pat, you're unmuted if you're trying to say something.
I think it's your mother.
Oh, you think?
Oh,
I don't know what I can do about that. Hang on a second.
fine.
No, my mom is muted. It's Pat that's not muted.
I was playing the song with it.
The mom.
We couldn't hear it.
I appreciate that, Mom. Okay, so now that that is nicely melted and we're getting good here, I'm going to move over here
Where's
to
my
a cool spot. I have this nice big stone here sitting right by the window here in Maine, so it's nice and cold. Easy for me. But move to a cool space and keep whipping. We're just going to get it. It doesn't have to be cold or even room temperature. We just want it to cool down enough that it's not going to sweat when we put it in the fridge. You don't want any water to get back in here. Water and chocolate don't mix, even when it's just a little bit. So we're just going to cool it down enough that when we throw it in the fridge, it's not going to sweat all over itself and get runny or any separation or anything like that. So
You couldn't hear my song?
no, we couldn't hear your song. It sounded like a robot voice, but would have been a perfect addition. Okay.
No, Zoom, for whatever
Um,
reason, Zoom is able to distinguish between like spoken voices and like when she was running the mixer,
Oh, you
Yeah.
that was super loud, but we couldn't hear it at all. It only muffled Diana's voice just a little bit.
Well, I'm not going to sing it. Sorry.
missed opportunity, Mom.
I need a guitar, you know.
Okay. So this is looking good. What I'm going to do is just give it a little finger test here to see what the temperature actually is. Metal bowls will move a bit better with with your temperature. The glass kind of holds that temperature a little bit. So the glass still feels really warm, but the custard itself, I can barely feel on my fingers. I think we are good to go here. Lucky for you guys, we don't have to wait for this to chill overnight because I made some yesterday. So get that off. You can just move this into a smaller bowl so that it's not eating up all the room in your fridge. Leave it uncovered until it is cooler, and then go ahead and pop a lid on it, just so your other fridge smells and things don't get in there. Or God forbid, you tip something over and it spills in. So we'll throw that in the fridge and get the other one I made. And
You're
some
gonna
heavy
be
whipping
eating
cream.
a lot of pavlova.
Yeah, it's a really good thing the guys at work love that I bake for a living. So I can take all this into them and they will devour it in minutes. Okay, so this is the fully set. Went from a relative liquid to now a solid. So that looks really good. I'm just gonna grab a spoon so you guys can actually see. So got a nice, you can see it looks like mousse. That's exactly what we want. And it tastes like wine and chocolate. And it's so good. Okay, so I'm losing my other ear here. While this is nice and cold, we will take some cold heavy cream. I'm sure that's still good. Where'd my other bowl go? It's behind you. Bada bing, bada boom, clean bowl. All right. Feel free to whip as much cream as you like. If you feel like going extra crazy and doing a little extra decoration on top, you can do that too. For this amount, I mean, this is easily going to fill our 6 little cups here. So I'm probably going to whip about a cup of cream. Measure out here. So unlike egg yolks, cream cold, whip it cold, always. it will go much easier for you. And here you can play with how much sugar you use. I'm going to add about a teaspoon because I don't want it very sweet. Shell is nice and sweet. The chocolate filling is nice and sweet. I just want this to kind of mellow it out and make everything nice and creamy and delicious. Here we go, mixer again.
Which is blissfully silent for us.
Thank goodness. Man, that's incredible. We'll get our healthy sugar jar here. Just a teaspoon of regular sugar. You can use powdered sugar. You can use honey. You can use homemade maple syrup if you've got that. I've got that, but I'm not putting it in here. Or nothing at all. Cream is kind of sweet on its own. Again, these other elements are pretty sweet. So I'm being handed my camera now. Let's see if I can turn it around. There we go. Oh, that's not what I want. That's what I want. Okay. So that's looking good. We're gonna get that to like a medium type of heat here. Okay. That is looking good. Nice. Soft, fluffy, not too far. Obviously, if you whip cream too far, you get butter. We're not wanting butter. And you want to keep it on the soft side so that it blends in nicely to the custard here. So this is very lightweight. This, while being light, is more dense than this. So we want to lighten this, not just dump a whole bunch of heavy custard into our cream. It won't come, it'll come together, but you'll basically turn it back into a liquid by that point. So we're going to take a little bit of whipped cream in our custard bowl here and just start to gently incorporate it. So we're lightening the dense so that we can add the dense into the light. Does that make sense? Add a little bit more. Pretty. And we're probably not going to use all whipped cream, so save it for your coffee or matzo brie topped with whipped cream. Why not? You heard it here first, folks. One more scoop. Just gently turning the custard over. Do not deflate. Okay, one more scoop. two more scoops. They're little scoops. You could take this as far.
I would eat all that whipped cream right out of the bowl with nothing else. I love whipped cream. Love it.
I second that. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. So, from this point, you don't want to fill your cups until you're ready to eat, basically. Once you've filled them, I would say within 2 to 3 hours, you want to eat them, unless you don't mind them all being kind of soupy and runny and strange. So at this point, you can throw this back in the fridge. You can leave these out on a dry counter or in a nice airtight box in a dry place until you're ready to assemble. This would be a nice time. And that's kind of why I like the individual ones. You can kind of come and go as you like. But throw this in the fridge. It will hang out as long as you like it to a full day, honestly. Or we can just fill it. like right now. So let's do that. I also made here some, they're just cooked strawberries. So we have fresh strawberries for the top because I wanted a little saucy something. So these are just literally strawberries cooked. I think I added about a tablespoon of honey here. Just a little sauce, dress it up for you guys.
I'm gonna turn on the Zoom taste function. Could you hold that a little
Yes.
closer to the screen?
100%. Yep. We'll get that Willy Wonka particleization thing and we'll send everybody a piece. So I'm just going to use a spoon and spoon some of our delicious moussey custard right in there. You know, you kind of want it to bulge out the top a little, get enough filling and for a nice little strawberry topping. Boom. There you have it. A delicious Passover Pavlova. Now I'm going to do that thing where you eat it on live and everybody's like, oh, I want some. And I'm left with a messy face, but I'm not going to hold it. Nice crunch. So that is what we're going for. You can see this lovely, ooh, bright, lovely crispy shell on the outside. And then on the inside, it's nice, soft, mushy marshmallow type of downing.
And you put,
Really
you can
good.
put like just fruit in that, right? Without anything else?
Absolutely. Yeah. So these shells, I'll break one open for you here. You can see nice and hollow, just crispy on the outside. And then on the inside is a nice, lightly marshmallowy, I'm not sure if you can really see, lightly marshmallowy kind of texture there. But yeah, you can, the traditional Pavlova is just whipped cream and fruit. You can totally leave out the cream, just fill it fresh full of fruit. You can fill it with any sort of curd, any other kind of custard, pudding. I would stay away. But yeah, any of your favorite puddings, custards, even
Wait,
just
you said
like this
you'd
fruit
stay
sauce.
away from what? You kind of faded out.
Sorry, Jello. I wouldn't
Jello.
put Jello in. It seems like an odd thing to pair it with. But even the, cooked fruit sauce, if you wanted to down some fruit and fill it with compote, all good options. For me, it's all about
Lemon.
and it's just so
lemon curd.
yes, lemon curd would be perfect in there. So, feel free to make it your own. That's the best part about, as some of you may know, my extensive career in historical desserts. The best part about old traditional type of recipes is bringing them to life. Pavlova seems like a perfect thing for everyone to make their own.
You made it look so easy. And I know when I go to make it, my kitchen's going to look like a bomb hit it.
Hey, it may. I'm not going to guarantee that it won't. But again, I'll put the recipes up. I'll try to include as many tips and tricks as I can, and get everything ready first. That's what really saves your kitchen at the end of the day. We've got a little mess here, but if you've got everything set up and you're not measuring as you go, doing all that, that will save your kitchen. I promise you. So let's see what we're doing here. I'm going to let you guys in for a sneak peek because I'm just going to feed this to people later and it's going to be fine. But so you can see it's grown a good bit in size. And I just wanted you guys to see what it looks like whole. And, maybe when this one's done, I will, I had to provide a stock image for the, the flyer for this event. So maybe I'll put one together and send it out with the recipes so that you have a perfect example of what it looks like as a big unit. And that's about it. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
You all can unmute.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, this was very well done. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my
You
pleasure.
did make it look easy.
Well, don't let my, 25 years of restaurant experience fool you. I'm just kidding. It is easy. I make it look easy, but I also try to pick things that, you can definitely do this.
Diana,
And
can
worst
you
case
use
scenario,
coconut cream to do it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. With coconut cream, that would actually probably be a really lovely addition to this. That added coconut flavor in the chocolate custard. Love that.
Can you give us a taste? This move the there you go. Thank you.
It's really good, guys. Highly recommend it. And meringue's a really fun thing to play with too. If you make the same meringue we made here today, you can do all sorts of stuff with it. You can pipe little recipes and dip them in chocolate when they're cool. Write somebody's name in it and stick to them for their birthday. I don't know. I love meringue. Maybe not everybody feels that way, but depending on how long you bake it, how big and small, it's good for all sorts of things.
So
And
if you add chocolate to the meringue, is that how you make chocolate meringue?
Yes and no. Most chocolate meringues are made with cocoa powder as opposed to chocolate. The chocolate's a little dense, like actual melted chocolate is a little dense for adding to the meringue, but you can fold in chocolate chips to your meringue. But yes, essentially you would add cocoa powder to the meringue mixture to make a cocoa meringue.
Okay, cool.
Also would be a fun rendition of this. A cocoa pavlova filled with something else. They're the same thing. I don't know. So
To
decadent.
me, anything chocolate is the best.
Yeah, I second that. Any other questions?
I don't hear any. So
Okay.
Thanks.
So who's making this for Passover this year? Everyone, right?
I'm gonna make it not on Passover.
Pat, is that what you're making for us
Perfect.
when we come over, Pat?
Thanks, Diana. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yes,
I
Well,
love
if you
all
guys
your
have any
little- I
questions,
like all your little tips. Because that's more, that's helpful more than anything.
Yes,
Thank
Eh,
you.
right.
and
You're
we'll call
welcome. You can
you.
get a recipe anywhere. Yeah.
Her tips are really
Send your
great.
emails. Call me. That's fine. I'm happy to help you.
Her tips are really great until she tells you to stick your finger in like 160-degree sugar. Because she told me to do that.
I did. But only after sticking it in ice water. So it's fine.
That's true.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Sister only advice.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks,
Night.
Diana. Night.
Thank you, Diana.
You're welcome,
See
everybody.
you at Passover.